Hey YouTube, how you going? Welcome to another video. This is the first video I'm recording in 2025, but it's actually the 7th of January, and by the time this video gets published, it's probably going to be like mid-January because I've got a little bit of a backlog of about 10 to 12 videos that I still need to upload to YouTube. But in those videos that I have uploaded or will be uploading, I did some work around the source types, which if you haven't watched my previous video on this application, basically it's a knowledge management app where users can create notes about things that they learn. So you can put in a title and a body on that note, or obviously add it to a folder and tag. But after that, you get to this process where you can add a source type. So for example, if you watch my YouTube video and I say something that you wanted to retain as knowledge, about how I use AI in a particular way, that might be your note, and then the source type would be my YouTube channel. So you do have the ability to search for different source types here. So for example, YouTube video, these are just some dummy ones. But since I created this functionality, which admittedly was over a week ago now, and I've had some time off over the Christmas and New Year period, I've been thinking about this, and it's not really going to support the desired user story or user flow that I want, which is why I've now documented kind of what I think we need to do, what I think I need to do to create a much more robust approach. So to break this down, the overarching concept of this video is to support more robust source types. So a source type is something like a YouTube video, an X post or Twitter post, an Instagram post, a blog article, basically any source of information that you might retain or want to save some knowledge from. Now, if we look on the front end, currently it's all very generic, right? Like a source title, publication, but is a publication, would you call a YouTube channel a publication? You might call a newspaper a publication if the source title was like, XYZ newspaper article, and then, this might be, in Australia we've got the Sydney Morning Herald. That makes sense. But if this is like Paul's YouTube video on AI, does it make sense that the publication title is Paul's channel? Maybe not. So what I want to do, and that's just with two examples, right? So what I want to do is be able to support these more robust source types. So essentially, when you come here and you search for, say, YouTube video or a YouTube channel, whatever's more appropriate, the fields that then populate afterwards, so none of these other fields would be shown, are things like, what's the video title, what's the channel name, what's the channel URL, or the video URL, and allow the user in the setup of their account to kind of toggle these on and off. So in order to achieve this, we have to do quite a bit of work. We have to update our source type model. We have to then update the source model. So a source is the actual source, like the the individual article or the individual video that you've watched, because that then has a reference to the source type. We need to create system source types. This is what kind of ChatGPT was referring them to. So one of the other changes that I'm making with these videos is just to spend a little bit of time beforehand kind of prompting AI to save you guys and girls the hassle of watching everything that I ask ChatGPT, but still retaining the ethos of this channel, which is to document everything from scratch. So if you see here, I'm just kind of using this as an example, the different source types. I said, hey, what are all the different fields that you might want to capture for each one? Here's what it said for YouTube. Here's what it said for a tweet or a post, like the post text, the author handle, the post URL, newspaper article. So these were what I would call system source types. So by default, when you come here on the front end and search for a source type, or maybe it's a drop down, you'll have access to select, where are you getting this knowledge from? Is it a book? Is it a podcast episode? Is it a website? Is it a forum post or online discussion, LinkedIn post, etc.? So once we've got those, we want to ensure that all accounts are populated with those initially, because everyone then has to have the ability to edit those source types, add to those source types, or delete those source types. And maybe for the system source types, it's toggle it on and off in terms of visibility. I'm not too sure yet. But say you're someone who doesn't have a Facebook account, never go on Facebook, or it's maybe rare that you kind of get knowledge from Facebook. Who knows? You might go, hey, I don't want that. I don't want that in my drop down, right? I just don't want that. So you can toggle on and off. But as default, we need to ensure that the accounts in our model, they're called companies, have access to those. As I mentioned, allow users to edit source types, add to the source type. And then we need to update the front end to basically do what I just talked you through, which is like, hey, let's select the source type first. And then based on the source type, then let's populate these additional fields. And these are going to be unique, as you can see, for every different source type that we have. Now, some of these I'm not going to do. I don't think it makes sense to, put in how many likes or upvotes a forum post has, or a Twitter post, because obviously, A, that's going to change, and B, it's not relevant to the outcome that we're trying to achieve, which is retaining our knowledge and kind of creating this second brain functionality. I still don't have an idea for the name of the app, but we're getting it. So that's what we need to accomplish. Quite a little bit to get through. Now, as I said, I have kind of gone and prompted AI just to update the data models and stuff for me. If we scroll down. So we're going to work through this systematically. So you'll see a little bit less prompting from AI than perhaps in some of my other videos, but I'm sure we'll hit some roadblocks along the way and need to go back to AI. So before I get into that, the other thing to mention is I am using a new audio setup. So I've now got like a boom mic up here, and I've turned the audio capture down to try and reduce some of the static. If you've got this far in the video, please let me know if this makes any difference whatsoever. I am concerned it might be a little bit softer, so I might need to bump the audio up in editing, which may introduce a little bit of static back or that kind of background, but I'm trying to make sure we can avoid that as much as possible. So what we need to do is in our models, so we are now in our knowledge bank project. Let me just bring up this. So it is running. We've got server up and running, so we can live edit. And at the moment, if you look on extended company, this is where we have our source type schema. What we're going to do instead is create a separate model for source type. So we're just going to call this source type.js, and in this we are going to use all of the functionality. Now, yeah, cool. All right, so let me just see. I think we can copy this code. We'll paste it here. So let's just run through this. Get rid of that. So if we scroll down for a sec, so source type schema has the name, the order, the color, and then these fields. Now, actually, I think from memory, we might have changed this a little bit, sorry, because AI incorrectly assumed that I needed those three things. Sorry, I've just had one of my kids come to the door. Alright. Sorry, I should have kind of got to all of this beforehand. Yeah, okay, so okay, copy this. So let's just replace this. And we'll run through it. So our source type schema is predominantly made up of the source type name. So we are going to input that. Source type order, so that, you know, if later on down the track we want to be able to like reorder these, we can do that, and a color. That's just so if we want to color code them on the UI. Then it references the fields, which is this fields definition schema, so that we have the ability to create a custom set of fields, right, with a name, a label, a type. You know, is it a string, is it a number, is it a boolean, whether it's required or not, and if there's default value. We can then have this field to distinguish if they're custom or not, and we're going to track the company ID so that if an individual company deletes them, then that's completely fine. Now, I'm just thinking, get out of our auth backend. This is extended company. I'm not sure if this reference is meant to be company or extended company now. Company ID. 2 seconds. Sorry about that. I just had one of my kids walk in. So just think about this one goes. Oh, company. I know we ran into this previously. Let me just double check that. Submodule. So I'm just asking, in our code base we have extended company model, which builds on the company model in our auth backend submodule. When we want to reference the correct company ID in our source type model, am I using a ref of company? I'm not too sure. I've never done this. I haven't worked a lot with submodules, so Okay, so it doesn't really. Okay, so extended company. Kind of forgot that I'd given an extended company model before. Yeah, so when you create a discriminator, which is this, from the base company model, you're still using the underlying MongoDB collection that the company model is bound to. The discriminator adds extra fields. In other words, both company and extended company model documents share the same ID. Great. Because both models refer to the same collection, company, you can basically use both, but company is best. Alright, cool. So that was a little bit of a detour. So I just got to scroll back up through some of this chat. As I said, I still want to code in real time and show you everything, but I just thought, yeah, kind of prompting AI to get us a little bit of the way there before I waste all your time doing that would be beneficial. Downside is that I asked a couple of questions. Source type model. So once we've done that, we now have our source model, which we need to update as well. So currently in source, we have source type, which we reference, but source type mongoose.schema.objects.id extended company.source type. And then, yeah, so instead of publication description, publication date. Multi-tenant company ID. I hate how sometimes it comments out code that you actually do need. So what we need to do here, first of all, let's get rid of what we don't want. So we don't want title. We're going to keep source type. We don't need publication description, publication date. We do need notes. ChatGPT didn't tell us we need that, but we do. This is the main thing that is of interest, though, is the data. So the dynamic data for this source and open map of field name value, blah, blah. User, got index true. We are going to put company ID. Save that. Okay. Never used a map type within a mongoose. Might just ask, I'm not familiar with this, I'm just going to ask, please explain how the type of map is used in a mongoose model, such as this. I presume it's mapping through the fields on source type, but yeah, I've never used it. Type map declares that this path in the document will behave like a JavaScript map instead of a plain object. We'll store the data internally in a way that supports having flexible dynamic keys. Interesting. That's good to know. Okay, so then what we need to do is we need to create a new folder. I don't think we don't have another folder that makes sense, so calls it feeds and then system source types.js. Okay. Now wanted to check was, there we are. Okay. Copy this. Let's copy this and run through this for a sec. So we might just start with YouTube. I know we can do more. So Mongoose models is up one. Yeah, models source type. That's correct. Once YouTube type, source name, color. Yep, fields. So we're gonna have video title, video URL, channel name, publish date. We don't need views. Then what I want to do, so we need to update in our components register new user, controller, register new user. This isn't really, we need to change this. This is kind of more like create initial company now. Anyway, we can fix it up later. Create, so we create the company, then what I'm going to do is for this part of the code where we So working with ChatGPT doesn't have all of the context of our code base, so we are working a little bit more of a limited fashion. Okay, so we need to bring in our source types model. Then we're gonna create company. That all stays the same. This is where we're gonna search for the source types. So system type source defined is custom false company ID. Copy this, and then everything else should remain the same. Save that. All right, so if we go here, register new user. Actually, yeah, register new user from extended company model. So we're going to change this to 18. We might need to update our get all sources API endpoint, but we'll soon find out. Send that. User registered successfully. So we need to verify our user. Copy, verify, send. Great. We need to log in now to get our auth token. Send. Copy this, and then get all source types. Header, bearer token. So paste that. Send. Okay, so yeah. This is wrong. Get all source types. That's meant to be a post request. That must be for create new source type, and I named it wrong. Let's try this API endpoint. Send. So what's happening here is we created default source types. So default. Yeah, so here. We forgot to update our extended company model, I think. So let's go back. Okay, ChatGPT, don't like you. Yeah. So just while waiting for that, say time and time again, ChatGPT does write good code. It just has no context. It forgets things so much. It's crazy. So in our extended company model, what we want to change is folder schema stays the same. So all of this is going to go. Just going to comment it out for a second. I'm just conscious that we might dig ourselves a bit of a hole. Yeah, so in here, we don't need the source types array. And then okay, so let's save that. We're going to have to register a new user. So we're going to go 219, post that. Come on. Took a while. Copy. Verify. Login. 219. Error token. Get all source types. Send. Okay. So. Not returning any data, but that might be an issue here. So yeah, we need to still keep that no user, validate user company, that's fine, do that. We throw, yeah, and then instead of, so if you want to show both system defined and company's own, yep, cool, easy. Let's put that, and then instead of returning company.source types, we just return source types, save that. All right. Send. Come on. Okay. Source type is not defined because I forgot to import it. Off screen, if you've seen my other video, we have this process that creates this test email account, and I changed the code beforehand to try and negate how long it takes to do things, but it didn't work, so I had to revert to the old code. Source types still empty. Weird. What we might just quickly do is go to MongoDB. I'm just going to check that there is actually source types being saved. I think I can bring this over here. So source types. No. Okay, so register new user service. Might have a bug here. Well, I will have a bug here. Wait. And first of all, let's check if I brought in source type. Right, system types. I think where you handling source types. That's still all correct. All right. Okay, you likely have a seeding process. So We don't, because it didn't create it as part of the process, so I don't have a sitting. Right, so interesting. Okay, so I misunderstood what it was trying to do with the code. I thought it was going to take like this function and run it every single time a new user was created. What it is instead saying to do is run a script and save these seeded system types into the database. So how does it? Sorry about that, I had to pause briefly. Okay, so where were we? So scripts. We are going to call this let's copy this, paste this, let's run through this code. Mongoose models. Just bring this over here just to check the environment variables are correct. Mongo, no, slightly different. Alright, save. Alright, so I don't understand why we didn't have this seed. Okay, this is brought into there. Okay, so then the question I have is, what if a user deletes so if we run this, a user deletes the system source type and then we recreate it. Yeah. Okay. We can cover that later on. We'll just have a soft delete. Now I wonder. So actually, sorry, we need to run the script, of course. So let's go into let's go node scripts, create system source. Cool. And theoretically, there we go. We got our source type, YouTube. Now, let's just double check if you run it again, it doesn't recreate it. No, it didn't. Cool. Fantastic. So, what we've done is so far, like how do we tick this off? Like let's turn this green, we've done that. Updated our source model. Yeah, we added the data field there. That's all we had to do. So that was straightforward. Done that. We need to go through and create all the system source types. But we've done that. And then we also need to do these different things here. So with the, what I might do here is, we don't need this seed anymore, so let's just delete that before we forget. Just like I'm in and delete the folder. And then in our, we actually also don't need this default source types. Where is default source types? Config. Delete that. Okay, and then for our script, so what we will do is copy this, paste this in here, and then I'll say, bring this over here so you guys can see, update our script. We're just going to ask it, update our script to accommodate all these source types. Please update this script to accommodate all of these source types and fields. Then what we'll do, we'll just go through this and take out the ones that we don't need. This is the only bit that's going to be relevant. Copy that, come in here. It changed the code a little bit, didn't it? So, source system types. put this up top. And then in the function itself, we just call source system types. Where is it? Mongoose.connect. Okay, so it loops through. Copy down to there. Where's? Oh, there's a close connection. Cool. Save that. Right, now let's just come over here and we'll go through some of this. So, all right. YouTube title, channel name, channel URL. I don't think we need that. Video URL uploader. Don't need that. Publish date. Duration. Views. Likes and dislikes. Description. Yeah, we can keep that. Oh, I went auto format. Come on. Alright, tweet, Xpost. So post text, author handle makes sense. Author name. Yeah, post URL, publish date, time. I think. Okay, post ID. We're not going to need that. Number of likes. We're not going to need that. Retweets. We're not going to need that. Replies. We're not going to need that. Attached media. Yeah, I guess the challenge is if it's a image. What we would do is we will call this tweet/xpost text. Alright, newspaper article, title, author, publication name, publication date, article URL. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Magazine name, yeah, publication date, article URL, page range, nope, publisher, nope, blog post title, author name, blog URL, post. I think we just do that. Publish date, nope, and research paper. I don't know what a DOI is. Abstract. Probably keep abstract. Page range, get rid of that. Book. Publisher, publication date, ISB, edition. Yeah, just in case. We're going to have it so you can toggle these fields on or off, I think. Language. It's probably overkill. Format. URL. Episode title, podcast name, hosts, guest, episode URL, duration, too much, episode number, yeah, summary, transcript, not URL, get rid of that. Alright, website, web page, title, platform, author handle, post URL, post body, don't need that, subform, overkill. Alright, LinkedIn post, post text or title, author name, author profile URL, post URL, publish date, reactions. I know I'm keeping publish date for some things, but I think for like articles and things that are published once, it makes sense. For things that, like a forum post where people can come back and comment over and over again, like, yeah, it seems a little bit overkill. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see once we start using this in real action. Facebook post. Don't need that. Comments or shares, attached media. So again, this is Facebook post text. We have to accommodate how we're going to do so image. Comments. So let's type TikTok video. Get rid of that. Infographic, source creator, publish date, URL, key data points. Nope. Format. Nope. Image, description. Nope. 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 Document. Nope. Yep. Email. Audio. I'm going to get rid of this. Slack transcript. I guess if you are saving a Slack message, maybe you do care about date and time. Actually, probably for email. Probably should put that back in. Image, email. Because for email it might be important. Anyway, this is all just trial and error. For this, alright, save that. Live event, Slack transcript, SMS, conversation time. I think SMS is a bit overkill. Survey or questionnaire, probably overkill. Miscellaneous media. Yeah, it's probably good to have a miscellaneous one. Cool. So save that, and then what we'll do is we'll run our script. And then if we go back here, call this. Once it reconnects to our database, what happened? Extended company. Because we got rid of this. Save. Call this. Come on. No. Send. All right, here's what we've got. We've got it created it twice because in the second script we called it YouTube, not YouTube video. That's a little bit annoying. Okay, we will fix that up. All the other ones are there, obviously. What we would do is copy this. Come here. Please give me company. Oh, sorry, a system source type. So that'll only remove it if there's no company ID. Cool. Right, so putting this here, come back here, go to our scripts, and we'll call this remove. What do we call it? Remove system source. It will still show up for our existing user because company ID won't be null, obviously. But for future users, this should now not have two YouTubes. Copy this, paste that, run that. Happy days. Okay, that's done. All right, so if we go back to our board here, we've created all of our system source types. So we'll mark that as green. Now we need to think about this a little bit more. So allow users to edit source type, allow users to add their own source type. We also need to allow users to toggle off or soft delete system source type. So that's an example. So we'll mark that as green, and that's still kind of in progress. I'm going to pause it there. I think we've covered a fair bit of ground so far. ChatGPT, we're making it work. It's not contextually aware of everything that we want it to do. My concern is if we go into using ChatGPT to do this other functionality. So if I go, where is it? Edit source type, controller. So if we follow the logic here, for example, so edit source type, we now have, for example, our error types, which ChatGPT won't be aware of. We now, in our services file, we then have, what do we have? We have our utils, so like the validate source type exists, check duplicate source type name, which is sitting over here, obviously. We then also have our validation chains, and I'm just conscious that given how ChatGPT works, and without the context and really being able to kind of keep up to date, more importantly with the context of all of our code base, that it'll start going off and making some wild assumptions, and obviously we don't want to do that. I am also conscious that if we have add source type here, this functionality probably no longer works because in our service, it's going to be expecting source type name, source type color, etc. But we need to be able to support a little bit more than that with this new functionality. So let's just make edit add source type. Yep, cool. Get all source types still works. So I'll wrap the video here, but I'll append the rest so that we can cover this all off in one video. Catch you shortly. All right, we're going to continue on with the source type, updating our source type. So I was going to move over to Claude, but I'm thinking I might let's just move these around a little bit. We'll do add source type first. Might at least try and tackle the add source type one ourselves, because if we look at our, actually let's bring up our controller too. So add source type controller. Okay, it is extracting the name and source type color off of the request of body. Which, yeah, we could still do that. Fields. So then what we also need to do in here is pass in a field, get fields off of rect.body, and fields is going to be an array that requires certain attributes, which we can get to in a second. So once we get that off the request.body, we do need to add in the company ID and the user ID. So we should be able to get that off of rec.user and rec.user.company ID and rec.user _ID. So we'll check if a user does exist. I guess we could also check if a company exists, but if a user doesn't exist, that's fine. Let's keep that for now. And then, so for our new source type, what are we doing here? So we pass in user ID, user.company, source type name, source type color. We need to pass in fields as well. And then, so over then here, so we do check for the company on this side. We check for duplicate source type. So this checks. Okay, normalizes the name. Yep, that's fine. We can keep that. And then, so create a new source type. So new source type. Where are we? Okay, so no, this is. Okay, so it's appending it to company, which we obviously going to change. So what we need to do is we need to bring in source type here. So const source type does require up1, up2 models source type. Then what we will do here is change this. So this will be const new source type equals new source, and then into source type we're going to pass in. So why have we got source type data? Oh, because we're passing that in as an object. Okay. Maybe what we do is just pass in without it being in an object. So here, source type name, source type custom we set to true, and company ID, and then created by equals user dot ID. Sorry, user dot ID. So we're getting from here. Actually, this is user dot company too. So company ID is user dot company, and then fields is fields or an empty array. And then we don't need this. Oh, hang on. Order source type. What would I get next to order? Actually, with this existing type. Company.source types. Yeah, this isn't going to work. So we might just replace this with. Actually, let's just comment this out for a second. We'll come back to that. And then next order. So we'll comment. Kind of need it on our. So if we go to our source type model, created fields is custom required type name. It actually doesn't. Oh, source type order. There we go. So. Okay, and then so we get rid of this. Save type await and new source type dot save, and then we want to return save type. And so now we need this order thing. So add source type utils. We pass in the company.source types. Okay, so in our previous code we had actually yeah, so provided types so here let's bring in source type. And then get next order. Pretty simple actually. So what we'll do is company ID, and then we'll go this, so const count equals await. No, this needs to be async. source type account documents company ID. Then we should say though, if no, well, if count is 0, it's going to, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. And then over in source type services. So here, what we need to do is go source type order is going to be add source type details dot get next order, and then we pass in company user.company. And then what was the other thing? So we also check for duplicates. So check duplicate source type. Please. Actually, it's probably better if we to call this function separately, and then we'll pass next order here, and then this will be user.company. I know we do have company ID. Actually, this is going to be my bad. This is going to be user ID, this is going to be company ID. So I can stay as it is, company ID, that's fine, so that. And then for our utility, source type, validation. Existing source types. So this is going to be passing company ID, company ID, and then do this. I think that should work, so we can add that, and then this will just be source type name. I need it. So we passed in user ID, company ID. We need to change this. Save. Let's just check this. Company ID. Company ID and source type name, company ID, get rid of that because there's duplicates, fields or empty array, new source type save, return save type, and then that's that. Okay. Alright, so with a bit of luck, that will work. I know we had to go to AI for a bit rusty with some of this stuff, but it is what it is. So add new source type. So the mandatory fields that we need to pass in are source type name, source type color, but we can also pass in these fields. And then if we look at our source type model, we can see fields can basically be anything that we want it to be. So each field though needs a name, a label, well, actually only needs a name and a type as a default. So we can pass this in fields. This can be an array. This can be name, test, and this can be type, this can be string. And we might call so check our backend. We should hopefully still be logged in. So we've got a new source type name, color, and the source type has this custom field. Let's actually just duplicate that just so we can check. Don't need that second one. We'll call this test2. Send. Invalid authentication token. No worries. Log in our user. Source type. Header. Error token. Send. Next source type. Where is my find? Next source type. Okay, my bad. That is going to be from our add source type. Utils dot. Send. Get source type. That's my mistake again. It's get next order. We didn't change the function name. Okay, hit send. Source type successfully added with the fields. And then if we go to get all source types, we've got to replace our Vera token. Oh my gosh. Send. I have to go. Oh, sorry. Test. Okay, order is 1. Order 2. Okay, so source type dot count documents, company ID. Why did that not work? It's only one document. Source types. Refresh. Just looking at MongoDB. Just want to validate something. Yeah, so test new source type. Okay, let's copy this object and we'll say we created a new source type. Called test new source type. As you will see from the object below, it was given a order value of 1. Therefore, this function isn't working as expected. It should have looked at all the objects here and then set the order for the new source type to. Alrighty. Document with the highest source type order for this company. So here, find the document with the highest source type order for this company. If you're mixing company ID null and custom ID. Okay, let's just look at this for a second. So company ID is null. We really need. That's not really what I wanted to do. So the script we have before adding the source types. Okay, yeah, that was a limitation that I didn't pick up before. Originally, I thought the script was, I should have checked, making the custom source types available, and then when a user created an account, I thought in, where is it? This service, that it was assigning company ID. I don't know why it's not working. Yeah, so use custom false, source type.create. Let's just double check ourselves by register a new user, just to make sure that we're not running into issues with an older account for a second. So 220, let's send that. Open this, copy, we need to verify the user. Send, great, login user, 220, send, get our bearer token, copy, get all source types, change our header, paste that, send. Okay, company ID is null, so let's just ask here. Why is okay, that wasn't helpful at all. let's switch over to Claude. Let's delete extended company. Let's delete source. Delete default source type. Okay, cool. And then add content, upload from device. Oh, why can't I bring this over? Why? That's annoying. Knowledge fake. Okay. So we'll add in our source type and extended company model. Then I realize we also need to delete register new user and service. Give it the new version of that. Upload from device. Components, register new user service. Okay. Right. So then let's. Okay. I created a new model. Source type. Knowledge. Then source types. Source types have a company ID field as field a specific company. Our company, we use the extended company model, which builds on the default company model, which comes project. When in our register new user.service.js file, I am where is it? Trying to create a number of system source types. These are default source types. I want every account populated with. However, I've noticed the issue as well. Look how many there are. It's just, what the hell? Oh no, 20. Is that duplicated? I mean, it looks like it's, yeah, it's however, I think I know the problem probably starts with, because that function in register new user doesn't have reference to the system types. Oh no, it does, because it says find source type or find is custom false. Alright, so yep. Okay. So in our utils, let's create source type seeder. And what we will do here is we'll bring in const source. I won't bring in logger, but we need to scripts need to get this. So from here, paste this in here, and we'll change the name of that to default source types. All right, and then got this function here. So seed system source types. Really seed. Then in register new user, system types. Alright, so system types, that's the same. So let's replace this with this. Just get rid of this logger for a second. Company source types, how do we use that? Okay, so also this get all source types. I think we want to remove that. We only want the source types for the company. Let's just hit that for a second. Maybe it was doing it, but it was. I did have the company ID. It was just returning them all. Ugh, that's annoying. So it was working. Oh dear. Alright, anyway, I think that code is a little bit more readable that we just created. So let's actually check this new code works when registering a company. So register another new user. Send. source type name fields. So what changed with the previous code? Yeah, I've kind of botched this a little bit. There's a few things that I've got in my head that we need to go fix up and just wait for this to run. Because I do prefer this seeding approach, because then we can run a function on startup, which it's telling us to do, which is fine, rather than manually running a script, even though it's the same information and same approach. But I think this is just an issue with our email service that sometimes takes a while. No, it's not. Okay, register new user. This is, what else did we change here? Email successfully sent. Okay. Not sure why it took so long. Copy. Verify. Send. Emails verified. Log in. 222. Send. Copy. Get all source types just for this user. Alright, so company ID, good. Order 2, good. Order 3, good. Okay. So then what we need to do is start server, which is going to be in server.js. Start server. We're going to bring in that from our utils. Connect to our DB. Check. Seed the source system, which will only seed if they don't already exist. So that's fine. Then what we need to do is these we don't need anymore. Just gonna comment that out for a sec, just in case I want to come back to it in a minute. Then in our add new source type, so this might actually have worked all along. Send. Normalized source type name is not defined. Normalized source type name. What do you mean it's not defined? Is duplicate. Where's it getting type from? Normalize new name. Just got to figure this out. I think I made a slight bug just in terms of how I've cut and pasted some of the code. Come on. ChatGPT taking a while. Probably because I'm using O1. Inside your... Whoa. Alright. We'll just go with this. Save. Cool. Wait for it to restart. Come on. Send. Source type added. Source type order 23. Perfect. Company ID. Perfect. And now if we go to get all source types, let's call this again. We should still random 23, 22. That might be a mistake here. Source type cedar. Yeah. Okay. I didn't change the order of some of these, did I? So I deleted 1 or 2. Okay, so we're gonna have to check all these. 21, 19. Yeah, okay, so what a pain. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So this should be 20. This should be 21. This should be 22. So obviously it's not going to fix it for our existing team here, but yeah, look, at least it created it. It created it with the fields that we wanted. Theoretically, if we create another one, we should get source type order 24. Let's just add new source type. Let's try and add another one of the same. This source type already exists. Awesome. Let's call this 2. Hit send. Okay, and then get all source types again. Hit send. And it'll slot in here at 22. We'll do one more to check that it appends it to be at the end. Hit send. Back here, get all source types. Hit send. Down here. And there's number 3 with the order of 25 because it's now, it's weird, added. Let's try again. Let's just make sure it goes to 26 and doesn't keep just adding it as 25. Okay, it is 26. I wonder. Oh no, source type 25. Why did it make 2 as... That's annoying. So that is in our util. Because it counts the number of documents. No, that should be right. Let me think about this for a second. Right, this function should be a little bit more robust. So let's just test this out. So basically what this function should do, it's 26, it finds the source type based on the company ID, and it gets the specific source type order in descending order, and then as long as there's at least one doc with the source type order, it uses that +1, otherwise it starts at 1. So yeah, this should be, should go to 27. 27, yeah. Cool. I have to keep an eye on that again when we create a new one, just in case, but for all intents and purposes, it seems to be working. So that took way longer than expected. But we can add source types. Now what I think we can do, before we were allowing, gonna have users toggle on or off system source types, but because we have a company ID on a system source type, we can now delete it just from that company, and it shouldn't affect, or won't affect any other users. So we can do this now. It might still be good to have that toggle on or off. I've got to think about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop filming just for a minute, have a think, go get a sip of water, and come back and continue working on this functionality. Okay, we are now going to work on the edit source type functionality, and behind the scenes, just trialing a new approach where I just do a little bit of prompting, this time with Claude, to save everyone the hassle of watching me write. So I just updated some, provided with the updated documents, basically said, hey, we've got this new source type model. If you look at our add source type controller and services, you'll see that the user can create their own source type, and we need to update our edit source type functionality to accommodate this. I mean, I don't know how many times I kind of repeat myself, but compared to ChatGPT, I know I'm not using projects. If you use projects, it can only hold 20 project files. But Claude, with its project knowledge, hands down, just absolutely destroys ChatGPT in terms of its capabilities. So what we can do, we can update this functionality, and we don't have too many files really to update, but we'll start with our edit source type services. So we've got this edit source type functionality. We edit source type. So let me just check all of the imports are correct. So we're going to need to bring in that. They're all the same. And then for this function, so we're basically getting rid of this whole thing. We're going to copy and replace it with this. So if we just look at this functionality for a second, use ID, company ID, source type ID, update data, source type exists, using our util, check for the duplicate name, source type.field, so we merge fields, color, okay, merge field update, Right, so with that functionality, we should be able to even change individual fields on the if we're editing it. I don't know what that was. We'll look at that in a second. But we also do need to now update our controller, because there's going to be some changes. So at the moment, we just get source type ID, name, and color off the request.body. We do need to get a few other things. So we need to source type ID. We're going to get off request.params, so we're going to pass that in rather than in the body. And then in the body, what we're going to do is we will get the name, source type name, source type color, and the fields. Once we've got that, we can call this function, which is going to be our edit source type on the edit source type service, passing in the user ID, company ID, the source type ID, the name, the color, and any of the fields. And then everything else remains the same. So if we are updating the service, if we're updating the to get off the params, we're going to need to update our route. So we will define a source type ID. We still have authenticate, edit source type, validate request, source type. That all remains the same. Then in our utils, we need to make a few little changes. So we do also need to bring in the model. Not that, sorry. And then here, what we're going to do is validate source type exists. So this functionality, copy, find one. So we find it by the source type ID and the company ID, which is correct. In check duplicate source type name, need to update that as well. So find one company, yep. And then we have a new function called validate fields. And then in our validation chains, we are now also bringing in param and we source type name. Change quite a bit here. Why don't we? Do that. Okay. Awesome. So what I'm going to do is say copy. Right. So edit source type patch. Yep. So we go to our login user. Let's get our token. Copy. Place a spare token. We are going to need to pass in the ID. Just this. So that. And the body. Let's pass in this as an example. Check everything's running. Hit send. False, cannot read properties undefined underscore ID. So controller 10.22. Was another issue that I didn't realize, but not for the company ID. Console.log. get company ID. Where do we do something similar? So delete note. In our controller, we're just going to need to look up the user and get the company ID off of user. So we're going to need to do that. I'm just telling Claude that so it's aware of the situation. So yeah, we'll bring in user. This. And then user. Like that. And everything else remains the same. All right. Let's try again. Merge fields updates is not defined. This is probably my mistake. Oh, what did I do? Loading fields. I cut and pasted that into the wrong file. Just check this for a second. So validate. Sorry, I missed that because it was in a separate message and it was appended to the bottom of the message, not in a separate code block. All right, just wait for this to connect. Right. Send. Alright, source type updated successfully. No. Actually, so it added the new fields rather than yeah. So we have to have a separate functionality to delete fields independently. So ideally we do want that because we want to be able to add fields separately. But didn't rename the test field. Yeah, okay. So I need to think about it if if you want to replace the entire fields array with a new one. So each time if a user was either adding or changing the name, yeah, but what if they just want to change the name? Field. Yeah, so basically, if you have this name as article title and you create a source which references this source type, and then you wanted it said, oh, I have a spelling mistake, I wanted this to be news article title, it would recreate this entire fields array, which would then break the connection. So we need to provide an ID. So we need to on the index. So in our source type model, no separate IDs. It's probably better to turn on a separate ID. But let me think about that. I need to pause for a minute, so I'm going to pause and I'll come back to this a little bit later on. Okay, I'm back, and yeah, just thinking this through, I asked Claude a few more questions just before I started to basically ensure I was thinking right, and I was. It doesn't really make sense to set this ID as false, so we should set this as true. There's no real downside to having a separate ID on each individual field. So now that we've done that, what we can now do is ask Claude, please provide the updated code for editing a source type now that each field has its own ID. Basically, we want users to be able to edit existing fields, add fields, can we use a patch request to remove fields? Let's see, can you? You can. So you can use a patch request to remove a field, and Starting to hit my limit on Claude messages just as I get back. That's a bit annoying. Let's try and get this done though. Yes. Okay, so in our edit source type service, I'm going to update this. Save, and then in our utils, we've also got some changes. Validate field operations. So, and then merge fields. Merge field updates. I don't think we now, we don't now use this version of it. Let's just comment that out for a second. Just and then in edit source validation chains, edit source type, So just seeking some clarification questions. So in the, because for the validation chains, it was getting rid of some of these. So source type, color, fields, name, type. Fields, put in, just add this. Then Alright, we can actually remove a field by passing in deleted is true, but what it does recommend is that we have a separate endpoint. So I think delete source type we do, so we'll update that a little bit later on as part of this. So what we need to do now is these previous ones don't have IDs, so like if I call this fields, has it now added IDs? It has. So what we can do is copy this, edit source type name, so let's put that in there, and then if we call this test updated, send, we'll go down, double quotation, what was the other util that we created? Merge fields. Source is not defined. Come on. Right. Source type updated successfully. Something went wrong there. Get all source types. Send. Why did it remove all of the fields? Fields, that's weird. We're getting towards the end of my messages with Claude, so I just want to update data source type name. So controller. Okay, hang on. So user ID, company ID, source type ID, update data. Which is going to be that fields. Update data.fields. So let's go console.log. So update data comes through correctly. Validate field operations. Merge fields. Field._ID. String const result. So what I'm just doing now, I'm just saying, I can see from console log that the data's passed in correctly. And trying to prompt it to kind of know where the issue might be, which I think is going to be in this merge fields. Hang on. No, that's fine. No. What did it say? Looking at merge field. Is the correct? Yeah, so it was merge fields. Don't return a new array. Modify the existing one. Just return this whole thing. And then update the service. All right. Let's send this. Okay, that got our field. Now let's change this to be updated to, and then let's add copy. Let's add a new field without an ID. It should then create one for us. We'll call this field without ID. Can't remember if we're meant to be using the Mongoose little script that I have, which checks certain versions, not versions, sorry, checks, because we have Mongoose running in 2 different locations with our submodule, if you remember that video. But in this instance we're not, so we'll just hit save. I think that might only be in the submodule. Anyway, let's try this. Field without ID. It's now created an ID for us, which is fantastic. Awesome. And then if we just send check our cells, get all source types, send, the one at the bottom should now be that source type. Alrighty, well that is I think just about where I'm going to wrap it for now, unfortunately. It's getting late here in Australia, and a little bit of that took longer than expected, and I am actually away now for a couple of days. I do want to try and upload a few videos, as mentioned. I think at the start of this video I've got a backlog of about 10 to 12 I want to get up. But when I come back, basically we just want to be able to either toggle off or delete the source types, and then we need to update the front end so that, yeah, you select YouTube video and then it populates the other fields that are relevant, or you select Xpost, it populates the other fields that are relevant. So thanks for watching. I will probably append the other videos to this, so yeah, it'll be continuous. Okay, back after a couple of days, going to append this to the other video and continuing work on this source type. So because we've updated some of the functionality around that source type model, I did just go through and ask Claude to update our delete source type. So the only main thing that it looks to have done, which I did prompt it, make sure that the user's deleting a source type from the company that the source type is saved against. So in the services file, it's got the validate source type exists, and it checks source type usage, and then these are the utils. So validating that source type exists with the ID of source type ID and the company ID. If there's no source type, throws an error. And if it is custom, cannot delete system defined source types. We're going to handle that in a subsequent video. We're going to allow people to toggle the system source types on or off so that they don't display, and check source type usage to make sure that it's not being used by an existing source. So fairly straightforward functionality, and we're going to implement this. So I will bring up my code, I will pull this over to the side, and we'll just update these files. So starting with our delete source type controller. So we do need to bring in user and our not found error utils and a couple other bits and pieces. So we're just going to copy this, paste this, and save that. In our routes file, I don't know if anything is changing here. Let me just have a quick look. So still deleting by ID, authenticate, validation chains, validate request, and calling the controller to delete the source type. We've got our imports, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that stays the same. So then over to our services. In our services, we have this delete source type functionality. Previously, update any source types using this functionality. we had the ability to reorder. Forgot about that. So if we go to utils, and actually if we look at our get all source types, so it does have a source type order. So let's just prompt that with Claude, and I'm just thinking if you want to delete a source type. Check source type usage. Yeah, we'll leave that. So I'm going to say just to Claude, in our current implementation, when a source type is deleted, we update the order of existing source types. Look at the delete source types file for this. We need to do the same. And then what we'll do is we'll give it an example. So each source type, let's just get that. Okay, so it's going to update, our util. Yep. So if we go to our delete source type services, let's just check we've got all these imports. So extended company source, validation error, delete source type utils. It's going to slightly change that. Import them that way. And then delete source types, we update to this. Not copy. Save, and then in our utils, copy, replace that with that. Okay, and we can continue on. So we've done utils, and then our validation chains. This source type ID, source type is required. I think that shouldn't be able to remain the same. So let's log in this user. So log in, copy our bearer token. We'll go to get all source types. Change bearer token here to that. Send that. All right, so we've got YouTube at number 1, and then we've got tweets and stuff, but you can't delete a system-defined one. So actually, that might be a good test. So if we go, let's get the ID here for YouTube. Copy that. Delete source type by ID. Paste that in here. We do need our bearer token. So copy. Put that in here, hit send. It should say it can't delete, cannot delete system defined source type, which is fun. So now if we go to get all source types and we get one of our custom ones. So this is number 27, this is number 26. Let's see, we've got number 25. So let's see if the other ones get updated. So this is test new source type 3, this is 4. So once we delete this, it should move that one up. Send. Source type is not defined, so we've got an error somewhere in services. Source type. Do we need source? We don't need source, just source type. Don't need user either. Anyway. Send. Source type not found. So let's just go through this. Source type ID, delete source type service, so you call this, check source type usage, so it's not going to be that. Validate source type exists, sorry I missed that, so validate source type exists, source type equals find1, ID, source type ID, and company ID. So where is it pulling company ID? Let's just console log here, console log in service source type ID and company. Let's just make sure that we're getting something through at our services level. Send. So it's new object, so yeah, company ID. So we'll just go const company. Okay, so the ID is fine. Why is that not found? Source type. Oh, did I pass the right ID in? Because fields have their own ID. Just double check I didn't copy like one of these fields. I don't think I did. So let's go. Okay, that's bizarre. Okay, so just add some more console logs that Claude recommends. I don't think it's an issue with the IDs, but let's just do this. Source type found. Okay, so let's look at the router. This is me missing something, I think. Router. So source types. And then where do we import these? Where is it? Source, delete, no. Delete source types, sources, no. let me just gonna log in again, just triple check that I've got that I didn't copy a different ID from a different user. Let's just delete the last one here. Login user, bearer token. Actually, the other thing we can check. And maybe that was user error. Let's get all source types. I didn't pay attention to which one it was called, but let's what we'll do is let's add a new source type. So copy source type, header, bearer token, body, and we'll call this send. Alright, then get all source types again, scroll down, so this should be 27, this should be 26, and we have 25, so if we delete this one which is 26, our new ABC one should move up one. Let's just double check that. Send, source type deleted successfully. Let's get all source types again. Alright, ABC is 26. Okay, fantastic. What I'm going to do now is prompt Claude. So at the moment, those system type source types can't be deleted. So we're going to create a new route and new set of functionality. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I have kind of this prompt that I typically cut and paste. But because Claude seems to be understanding what we're doing around this delete type, I'm just going to try and prompt it direct rather than cut and paste that whole big prompt. As you know, okay, now I need you to work on the following. Now I need you to work on the following. As you know, we have system defined source types that cannot be deleted. I need you to add a new field to our model. Which would initially be true for all system defined source types, as well as new source types defined. It can be called is cool. We then need controller services, utils, files, and functionality, keeping with our very this functionality will allow the user to call to false. Alright, let's see how it goes with this. As I said, we normally write, take our normal prompt. So controller, source type off of the request.params, user, update source type, toggle source type ID, company ID, route. Fantastic. What we need to do though is also, so copy, let's go over here, models. Save that. Okay, so we will add a new file here, and we're going to call this copy. What are we going to call this? Add source type usability. Save that. So connect is visible. Cool, that should work. So let's just open up a new terminal, cd scripts, and then node add source type. Okay, this is going to be, let me just check our .m file, MongoDB URI. Not exactly sure why that's failing when it worked previously. Might be a case where it needs the shared Mongoose connection. Yeah, well, we've done it before. Console.log. Why is it undefined? Required.env. Maybe I'm not importing that correctly. Okay, so what we would do here is config path, and we'll go, we'll go up one. Why is it doing that? Oh, sorry, path up one. It should be there. Try it again. Okay, fantastic. So, simple mistake. Let's get all source types. We should have is visible set to true. Fantastic. All right, now we can continue with what we were actually doing beforehand. So in that case, what we're going to do is create this new functionality. And we are going to call it toggle source type visibility. So components, new file, toggle source type, add a file, toggle source type is bring this in. So yeah, gets the ID off of the URL, checks the user, populates the company, checks that the ID exists with the company ID. Sorry, doesn't check, passes it into our service. So if we now do that, toggle source type service.js, copy, and it's actually services. So paste that in. So there's source type ID, company ID. We validate that it exists, and then source type is visible. Change it to the alternate. So if it's true, it goes to false. If it's false, it goes to true, and then we save. So then we need our utils. Toggle source type dot utils.js. Paste this in, and this is where we validate that it exists. So find source type with the ID and the company ID. If not, source type not found. And then we do have a validation chain. So copy toggle source type dot validation, and here we're merely checking that the correct ID is passed in for the format of the ID, correct format of the ID. We obviously need our routes. So toggle source type dot routes.js, paste this in. So source types, source type ID, toggle visibility, authenticated, goes through validation chains, calls our validate request middleware, and then passes it to the controller. And then in our index.js, we need to bring in this functionality. So toggle source type visibility. Yep, just checking I spelled it the same way. And then round.use sources. All right, so then we got so many tabs open, it's so annoying. Okay, so what I should do is save ourselves some time, copy, paste, and it is source type, source type. So then in our header, we need authorization, bearer, go to our logged in user, get the bearer token, copy, not that. Oh, why did it do that? Login user. Copy. Bearer. Okay. Now we need to get an ID. So let's just do YouTube. Copy that. let's put the ID in here. Sorry, if you saw me going like that, my kid just walked in. I'll go help him in a second. Hit send. Connection refused. That crashed. In here we didn't bring in components. Try again. Route not found. Let's just double check this. So routes, source types / EID / toggle visibility. That's correct. Then in our index, sources. It's probably a spelling mistake. Actually, it's not. It's me, I think. Patch. I had a GET request. What am I doing? I hadn't even thought about that. Okay. Silly me. Forgot to change it to patch. Alright. Toggled. So this should now be is visible false. Fantastic. So we're going to save this route. File save as. Knowledge bank. Sources. I know we need to create a new one for source types. Toggle. Source type. Okay. Hit save on that. I'm going to pause the video, and then when we come back, I've got a little bit more to do. Need to update the front end basically to display the source types, and then based on the source type selected, change the fields that are displayed. So I'll stop it there and come back shortly. Okay, so we'll continue now with updating the front end, and what I've done is I've just logged into the front end and gone through the new note process. Just adding test title, test body, and you can see in the current implementation when we get to this point in time, we add a source title, we search or create a new source type. But as you know, we now have much more robust source type functionality, and this kind of step doesn't make sense. So what I want to do is update this so that when someone comes to this first step of the source type information, they can either select an existing source or create a new one, and then based on the source type that they select, then have the ability to input the information for those particular fields. So to save a little bit of time and effort, what I have done is just write to ChatGPT, sorry, not ChatGPT, Claude. So basically saying that, right, like we've currently got our create note modal, our source types are now dynamic. For example, here's one for YouTube, and we need to populate these based on the source type selected. Alternatively, a user can create a new source type where they should be able to type in what the field name is. Name can be typed, and then a type which should be a string, number, boolean, etc. Do you understand? So it came back with a couple of questions, just around if creating endpoints and stuff. I said, hey, like we've already got this. I wanted to make sure it was roughly on the right path, so I asked it to just give an overview. So it did that, and then I said, yeah, let's go ahead and create all of the code. So what we're going to do is start working on this. So I'll pull this over here, and let's get cracking. So we're in our front end into source file, and what we need to do is, do we already have? We don't have a hooks file yet, but what I might do is just skip over that for a second. Hooks use query. Where do we? It's creating a separate hooks file, which I don't
really want to do, because yeah, it's forgotten that we kind of keep everything really compartmentalized. So it's not a component we had in our features. So what we will do is trying to think, because it is creating a note, but it's part of the source type. Alright, what we'll do is we are going to stick with its approach originally, just to get the functionality up and running, and then as I think about this in a little bit more detail, we might refactor some of this code. Alright, so use source types.js, copy this, and then use use create source type post and components. So in here we are going to call this source select. Sorry, source type select.jsx. Copy that and select import UI select. Do we have all these components? We don't currently have those UI components. We will come back to that. Component source type form. And components dynamic source fields. All right. Now create note. It's in features. Create note modal. Keep existing imports and bring in these, and then steps. Okay. So it's a couple of things. Please provide the entire sorry, just had to pause for a second. So please provide the entire code for the create node modal. All right, so copy. What we're gonna do. Cool. It's going to just give us a whole file, so we don't have to figure out what gets cut and pasted where. Button, dialog. Cool. It's quite a large piece of code, still writing. Okay, copy, save. What's not saved? We've got to fix up these type errors, but we'll get there. Alright, cool. So we need to install a bunch of components. Just ask Claude to give us that, so we don't need to worry about that ourselves. So what's this knowledge? Bank front end. And then paste those. Need to install the following. Why did that not work? Just do one at a time. package.json. Okay, cool. What? Oh, why is it? That's weird. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Not exactly sure why this command isn't working. Let's try. Okay, let's try this command. Right. Saying add it as a dev dependency. Let's try running it now. It's weird, man. I don't understand. I'll still get this. I'm in the front end, yep. Node modules. It is there. It's bizarre. Oh man, this is so confusing. ChatGPT is saying to check that it exists, which it does. dev dependency. Yep. Let's check Tailwind config. Where is it? At that line. Start again. So uninstall. Reinstall. Right, initiate. Okay, that's weird. When I run, so all this just to get a few UI components installed. God, we're going around in circles. Dev dependencies, yes, it's installed. Right, let's delete our node modules. Come on. Don't know what that meant. Come on. It's weird it won't let me delete the whole thing. Let's just see if it works npm install. Come on, I really want this to work. But let's try again. This is crazy. There's a Stack Overflow post that has some okay, that helped. No input aliases. Config. So the other way, I want you to define import alias in your TS config. If you use byte, you might want to enter this. Okay, so invite save. All right, and run this again. Which color would you like to use as a base color? Huh? Oh my god. Slate anything. Slate. Yeah, slate. Right, so now if we run that, oh, we've already got dialog. Ah, what? Hang on. There's a mistake. npx shad cn at latest add. I've already got dialog. So let's do. Got button input label text area. Got that. Pop over calendar. Select. Don't have select. Right, I wonder now if you go add, for example, button, does it override it? Yeah, gotcha. Yes, fantastic. Okay, so with that out of the way, what I might do is, it's getting towards the end of the day. I'm going to finish up here and then append to this the rest of the video later on. So we've got to go through the front end, fix up some of these import paths, it seems, and then hopefully we have what we've been working on working to a degree. All right, stop there. Okay, I'm back. It's another day, and I fixed up. There was an import error that we had previously, and now if we come along to our front end application, we go new note. Give it a title and a body. We do have this source type, but obviously it's not currently working. And then create new source type. This is the color selector, so we need to do that, but it also has the ability to add fields, which is great. So that all seems to be working, but what we need to do is just review the original code. I think it didn't actually update our endpoints. So let's see if we can source types endpoint source types dot get all. So all we need here is source types get all, and then this will be copy. Our endpoint is get all source types, sources slash source types. So sources source types. Save that API client. We don't need to change anything there. So query key, source types, API, return data. Then in feature notes, create note modal. Source type. So data, use source types. Where do we actually selected handle source type selected. Source type selected, source type ID. So come back here, new note. Okay, there's an error. Source types.map is not a function. Okay, what we're going to do is, reluctant to use the same chat, so we're going to come back and I'm going to update some of this. So let's get rid of all of this, and then also endpoints. D drive, knowledge bank, front end, source, API. Let's upload our endpoints, and then let's also upload source components, features, notes, and then also upload the 2 hooks that we created. Upload hooks. Do that. Actually, that might be where the issue is. Use source type, so let's just console log source type data front end, console log data. Actually, no, okay, I was just checking we are connecting right. Source type data front end, data, source types. We do have our source types here, so they are appearing. So then use source types. Use source types, create node modal. Yeah, so if we go create node modal, use source types. What I want to do. Where's this used? Alright, create source type. No, sorry, not. Sorry, not use source type. Okay, use source types. Okay, so then. Source types.map. Where was that error being thrown? So test, next. Source types is not a function. So it is here. Source types. Yeah, .map is not a function. Console. In create node modal, and then source types. Let's just check how the data is coming through here. Okay, so 135 source types dot map. So it should be source types dot data dot source types. I think that will work.
Awesome. There's some ARIA error, but so here we've got our source types. And you can scroll, it's pretty good. So YouTube, okay, and then same thing, source types, and that's going to occur in the select component. Oh no, yeah, 83. So if we copy this, I think that should now work. Happy days. Let's do www.youtube. Pick a date. Okay, that's a bit weird. We'll fix that up later. Okay. Hit create. Bad request. So use create note 7, await execution 128. So create note, mutate create note, use create note. Create note data. Endpoints. Where are we? Endpoints. Notes. Create. Notes. Create new note. Source. Yeah, I think this is going to be an issue with how the data is being passed in. So console. Might need I can't remember if we've updated some of the things we had to on our on the back end since we updated the source type. I'm trying to remember. I go. It's been a while. Update source type model. Now use it to add source type. Yeah, we haven't got something there about fixing the create new note functionality. And I think if we go in create note, here we go. So title, body, source. So source is now passed in so on our backend, add new note, our controller, rect.body, we pass into the body to create note, populate company, source ID, node data.source. Yeah, so this. Create or find source, user ID, create or find tags, note. Yeah, so here we just pass in the source ID. So here, it's finding an existing source. Yep, so we need to update that. So if we come over here, we need to, let's just copy one of these. So fix right. So we can do that. I do want to check if we go here. Actually, so go here. Endpoints, where are we? Endpoints, auth, source types. So we don't have, we haven't done our create new source type. So let's just think about that for a second. So that's going to occur in our create node modal. Handle
create source type data. So name, color, fields. Okay, cool. So get all. We'll call this add. Hang on. What did now hooks? Use create source types. We call this create. So create, and then this endpoint is going to be the same. Copy. Okay. So what else would we have to change? I think that's it. Let's check. Okay. So cancel. Let's go new. Test. Next. Create new source type. Source type name. Front end source type. Let's use red, and let's add a field called test field. Give me a string. Create source type. Okay, and it's going to have the same issue with map. Cannot read properties map 261. Two, 6, 1. Selected source type fields. Okay. Copy. I think that should work. So add source details. The create note won't work. I think that's a leftover thing that we've got to clean up. So if we come over here, if we log in as that user, send, copy, get all source types, header, send. There's the new source type that we created. So if we go here, so we should say create new source type from front end. That works, so we can tick that off. Let's do that. Let's move that there. It does display it based on the fields we select. It's logged out now, but it was working previously, and that was working. We need to fix this backend part. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the video here, just respond to some of these text messages, and then come back and we'll fix up that backend and go from there. Okay, as I've been doing, just prompted Claude just with some background to the updated models and got it to generate a JSON object to ensure that it understood what we were doing or how we were creating this, and then have had it update our controller, our services and utils for adding a new note. So we're just going to go through and add this code, and then fingers crossed it should then work as expected. Might have, I don't know, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that might be slightly incorrect. Or need updating, but I do not think so, so we'll soon find out. What we're going to do is, I don't think any of this changes. No, user ID, that all stays the same. In our services then, what we've got is, we're going to be bringing in some different utils. Copy. Oh no, they're all the same. So create note does change slightly. Yep. And then our utils. Right, so source, we need to bring in source type. Create or find source gets updated, and then hang on.
Oh, that was create or find folder. Create or find source. Save, and then validate field type. Validate link node, so add this. Then in our validation chains, body, node, title, status, source. So we can change this. Alright, so with a little bit of luck, if we come here, let's get the example JSON object. Gonna paste this in here. We'll have to get rid of some of this. Let's get rid of tags because we don't have tags. Source type, we need a source type ID. So let's copy this one. Oh no, hang on, let's do something easier. Let's do YouTube. Copy. Let's get rid of views. Let's get rid of those. Let's get rid of those. Okay, so login user. Let's just log in. Send false. Source data must be provided as a map. Source type. Not source data must be provided as a map. Okay, so source. Let's just ask Claude. Error is occurring because we're validating source data. Okay. So copy. Yeah, I think that's correct because sometimes sometimes source type might not have additional fields. Just thinking. So let's do that. And then update the source creation in utils. So here, changed a bit. Let's see if this works. So we can still create a source directly from the new note module. Find one source type. No, we can't create a source type. Okay, cool. Validate field type is not being used. Send. Missing required field video URL. Video. This is video. Send. Company ID is required. Good point. So where is this? Company ID. Why is it not passing in company ID? Company ID. This is console.log, console.log. Doing that thing again where it passes in as an object ID. So if we go to services, I forget the syntax. Send. Okay. Why did that fail? Okay, a new note utils, company ID. Maybe validation chains, company ID. Where is it? Where is this failing? Note validation failed. Come on. Where is this failing? Service. Alright, create note. We do get the user ID. Source tags, note. User ID, company ID. Didn't have company ID there. Maybe we don't need that. Let's try again. Send. Alright, note created successfully. Fantastic. So now what we can do is test this on the front end. So log in, copy our email, copy our password, copy, log in. Here's our note. New note, front end note, next. Alright, so YouTube. That's weird. It's not asking us for, it's not allowing us to fill in the additional details. Anyway, let's hit create. It didn't work. So what happened? Validation. Source data must be provided. Okay. That's weird. Cancel. We didn't update the front end, and now that front end. Okay. I wonder. I think this is going to be a state issue, like in terms of the holding the state of this modal. It seems like it's probably stuck when we got to this part before. No. Okay. I will. What I'm going to do is can take this offline. We'll work out the issues that are occurring, and then I'll come back and record it. Save you guys and girls sitting there while I debug. What I'll probably also do is I'll go through the entire end-to-end process and identify any other errors that we've got. So, for example, we still need to fix up this so that it's not this the source ID that shows there. And yeah, that would be advantageous if we can fix that up. So. We need to fix that. We fixed the back end, and then we need to let's just add this while we're here. So fix up the note component to show fix up the note on the front end dashboard to have metadata. Source. Cool. All right. I'll wrap there, do some offline testing, just work out what needs to be done, and then come back so you don't have to see me bounce around looking at a whole heap of different things. Okay, the plan was to do some testing off screen and then come back, and there was one small change I made here to the validation chain off the recording, but it seems we do have a bit more of a bug that is causing issues for us. It's got to do with this data map. So when we receive a note request, we're pushing it in like this, but when we did it in Postman, create new note, we had it wrapped with data. So that should be happening if we follow our logic. Because I also had to remove data here, and then when we create note, mutate, create note data, source, form data, source fields. I think this should be data. Does that allow? We wrap that and have it come through as an object. I'm not too sure. Hit create. Okay, validation failed, but that's fine. Source type data object. So then if I go back here and there was also there's actually two validations on the source. Hang on, let me. What was the one I told ChatGPT? Source.data. No, hang on. Control. Okay, source.data. There we go. If we run that, create note. Okay. Hey, there's our note and there's the source. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, I just wanted to come back on screen because there was a little bit of error occurring there. I think now that we let's just try and create new note with new source. While I'm recording, I might as well do this. Let's see if new folder does show up. New tag does show up. It's not rendering it above, but we'll fix that later.
Alright, create new source type, brand new source type. We need to get rid of those console logs, obviously. Make that red. Add field. Let's call this field. Let's do a couple. Test field to make this a boolean. Let's call this is interesting. Create custom source type. Whoa. Okay, so we've got another error. 261. 261. Okay, so this is what we had to change. Create it. How does that differ? Field doesn't differ. So, where's create? So create source type. I'm probably just going to ask ChatGPT this. Should be a fairly simple fix. So in our front end, we have the ability to select an existing source or create a new source type, i.e. there is a function called handle create source type. When I use an existing source, the next part of the modal correctly renders the source type fields in the render source fields. However, when creating a new source type, this next phase of the modal returns an error. Actually, let's get the full error. Right, so with a bit of luck, we'll be able to just use ChatGPT rather than burn through Claude. Silly me, forgot to give it the code. Here is the code, please review and identify error. Okay, so in render source fields, let's do this. Actually, we're going to change. Actually, we're going to change this. Copy. Okay, so now that should handle if there's not any fields added. Handle create source type data, await source type, mutate on success, new source. Just give that a little bit of a fallback option. Okay, let's try this. New. Test. No fields to display. Okay. Okay. So that means create source type. Use create source type. It's console use see what's coming through on the console. So cancel that, new note. Fields array weird. So copy object. Okay. When I create a new source type and console log on the front end, it appears that all the fields are correctly getting passed to use create source type. Here is the object. Then if we give ChatGPT this, here is my hook for, it's already got it, however, in the modal it then doesn't render the fields I created. It is using our fallback of why is it doing that? Even when fields are present. Okay, select source type is being updated, so select source. Use create source type response. Ensure the response from here. Use create source type. Okay, so let's just console log here. Then select source type. New source. So on success, new source type. Let's double check that. Copy, paste that, save. Right, go back here. Let's refresh. I want to get rid of this in create note modal. In create. Don't need that. Okay. Test three. Next. Create new source, test source type 3, add field, test field 3, create source. Okay, so use create source type, that's the original console log. We've got the fields with the array. In the API response, we've got data. I think it's going to be here. Okay. Yeah. So copy, I think. Simple fix. So handle create source. Oh, sorry, wrong. Where are we? So here. actually in here. Handle create source type. So on success, just going to change this and I'll walk you through it. So just getting source type, whereas we need to extract the source type object. So cancel, let's just refresh, new note, test4, next, new source type 4, field 4, create source, testing, new field, create note, need to refresh. Hey, there we go. Okay. Fantastic. So update the front end to select the source type, we've done that. And then based on that, display other fields, we've done that. And then we need to fix up our front end. So there's a few other things I mean, eventually we're gonna have to be able to drill down into this source. But what we can do is, this is going to be in our note card, I think. Yeah, note.source.title. So actually, note data and note card, note. So if we open this up, yeah, we get our object. So what we can probably do is, yeah, so source, just getting the source ID. You might actually need to update so API endpoints, note, get all. Okay, so we are still just getting all of the, so we're just passing it because we get all of the notes on the initial call. We aren't then calling get notes again here. But so far we're just getting the source, so the ID and the source type ID. We're not getting the other fields there when we call that. So it's going to be in our back end. Get all. Where am I? Not seeing it. Get all. Add nodes. Get all company notes. Control. So get all notes. Source. Yeah, so we're gonna have to fix that functionality up a little bit more. So what I want to do is actually going to wrap the video here because I want to start a new video, and I'll tell you why. I've covered quite a lot of ground, focusing on making source types much more robust. I'm just going to bring this down here, and that was the purpose of this video. And if I look at my videos, you can see this. That's my son coming in, that's my mum coming in, so just notes to be able to edit the video. This is what, 19 videos. Oh, one of those isn't counted. I think there's another super small one there. Where, yeah, so I've got 19 videos basically, and I'm going to I need to edit that. Okay, so just coming back here, so basically I'm going to end the functionality here. I've dragged this little note down there. Basically, when I look at the volume of videos, I've filmed or recorded 19 individual videos for this that all need to be stitched together. And I think in terms of the functionality, we have actually completed everything that we set out to do in terms of making more robust source types. So as you've seen when I've just gone through this, you know, you can create a note with an existing source type, and if you select these more robust or out of the box source types that are quite robust to start with, like a email, there's quite a lot of fields that then get automatically rendered. Obviously we don't support attachments yet, so I might take that one out for the time being, but you know, you can put in the sender email, sender name in this particular instance, or if we
pick another example, like a newspaper article, you've got quite a lot of information that you can input here. Now, are there still some bugs? Yes, like this looks a little bit wonky, but functionality-wise, it does work. Same thing now, if you create a new source type, we've just seen that that process works. So in terms of functionality, I think, yeah, I want to wrap the video there, and then based on what we're seeing on the front end, obviously we need to fix up a couple of things in terms of what we now get when we call our get all notes, so that we've got a little bit more data to render here, and then ideally obviously be able to drill down into these sources if we so choose, but that might be a little bit later on too. So we'll wrap the video here, and then we'll start with a new video to update some of this other functionality. Thanks for watching, and please feel free to comment and let me know what you think down below.